when you get higher up into the levels and the degrees of the Masonic Lodge and the Masonic Temple, that's when you get involved in these secret societies. Colleges have, like the Ivy League schools with the Serpent Team, and then you've got the Skull and Crossbones, you've got the Snake Tower. You have all types of secret societies that are born and bred by Masonic logic and for the purposes of leadership and ruling and dominance, and then they go into a hierarchy, which is the different levels of the Masonic Lodge.
And you know what? You bring up an indirect, interesting point. Because we have a lot of these groups going into buildings just looking for the exciting story that happened within the historic building and not so much the history of the building itself. History of a building or a site can tell you volumes about the people, the psychology of the building, the atmosphere of the building, just by doing the research and taking the time to learn about where you are at. And I think that's the most important part that a lot of people seem to be overlooking.
Yeah, I've always been a stickler for useless information.
Oh, Elliot, there's your soul.
Hey, so am I, man. Like, if I don't know something, I have to look it up. like even how stupid is like a golf ball, man. Like, I had to find out how many dimples were on a golf ball.
Yes, that's your soul. Maybe you two can talk, because Elliot's always looking for useless information, so...
What is it, 1,200?
No, like the original golf ball only had 348 dimples on it, and now since golf has gotten so big, all the dimples made it so where you can have a better, like, accuracy with it, so now there's 500 on every golf ball.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
So, golf balls aside, gentlemen, we need to get back to the subject. No more ball talk. Yes, I went there.
You went to my balls. Wonderful.
Yes, exactly. And this is probably being recorded, so you can go back and listen to that as many times as you want.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
But in all seriousness, Elliot, I know you're very passionate about, groups going in for the right reasons.
Yes.
And I want you to think about, Neal presents us with this story of, bodies having to be stacked down there, of course, for purposes that they couldn't help. I mean, it was an epidemic. They needed places to put the bodies. Also, the Masonic lore that he was talking about that actually I find pretty interesting myself. The fire in the hotel and in the tunnels and things. Do you think that any responsible paranormal group should, skill themselves in the historical background before even attempting to go in and understand a site?
Well, yeah, I believe that that's what you have to do. That should be, like, number one thing. Before you go into anywhere, you need to do all the research about it. Because if you go in there not knowing what you're doing, then you don't know what's going to happen,
Well, and you've got provokers, okay?
Yeah, you got provokers.
You just watch a TV show and say, hey, I'm going to go in and call a ghost an asshole and see if I can get an EVP. But you have to understand that these were once living people and that they're not going to respond to such crap as, touch me if you want to talk to me or, push me. That's not the way to approach it. And some of these people do not understand that kind of stuff. And you have to understand there's traumatic things that happen there, the things that happen to them as human beings in this life, in order to be able to communicate with them in another world. So,
I'm just waiting for Zach to get a pencil in the eye some night.
Oh my goodness. Went there, didn't you?
Dude, he's nuts. I've talked to him off camera, and he's like, hey, how you doing, bro? Yeah, look at my biceps. I'm going to go have a mocha frappe. Then the minute the camera comes on, he's like Masters of the Universe on steroids. I don't get it.
Well, now, Neal, did you tell him to recognize that you are the Brad Pitt of the paranormal, so he has nothing on you?
Well, yeah. I just don't have the same size as a bicep, unfortunately. I don't have time to work out like that. He doesn't have kids. I do.
Size isn't everything.
No comment. Got my 4-year-old on my lap. Stop doing that, Luke.
What did I do? What did I do, Daddy?
He's messing with my phone right now. He's trying to call people. This kid knows how to operate DVR, and he knows how to operate my iPod.
Hey, well, that's what they want the kids to know in the future, so you might as well just give them the go-ahead.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good?
Good.
That's good, buddy.
You gotta keep an eye on your dad, don't you?
Yes.
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 We're putting that on you. You gotta keep an eye on your dad.
Yeah, he sounds like you're not, so you
I
gotta keep an eye on him.
watch Smurfs.
Oh,
He said, I watch Smurfs.
Smurfs?
Yeah, we took him
Was
to
it
see the
Smurfs?
Smurfs Friday.
Oh, so he likes the Smurfs, huh?
Oh, yeah, I got him introduced to that early in life, too.
Oh, good. I love the Smurfs. Well, Neal, you promised, because I'm a big Mothman freak, you promised
Yes.
to tell me, just do a quick rundown of the basic story of the Mothman in Point Pleasant. And then I want you to talk about maybe a little bit what they do at the festival and what you talk about.
Oh,
You mean the Festivus for the rest of us?
Yes, that one.
yeah.
The Mothman Festival they have every September at around the same time, of course. The Mothman incident itself that took place was taking place around 1965 to 1967. And what happened was this... Lucas, stop. I'm on the air. Stop. This incident occurred with this weird-looking creature that was half man, half moth looking, had huge red eyes, and it was what was her name? Sherry. Anyway, one of the first sightings was reported by this Scarberry. She just passed away last year, and she encountered it in a car with 3 other youths, and they were driving past the TNT depot. The TNT depot was used in World War I as a munitions depot by the United States military, and what they did was they used to put dynamite and other explosives and other types of weapons in there in preparation for the war. And it was abandoned after World War I ended, and what happened was this creature started popping up and showing out there at around the time of the 1960s, 1965, 66, and as this creature was popping up, other people were seeing it, and there were also UFOs that were sighted in the sky at around the same time. There were also men in black visiting the eyewitnesses of the Mothman and telling them, without the flashing stick from the movies that Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones so gracefully used, they used harsh references and everything sort of packing heat. And they were strange, frail-looking little men with the type of bowler caps and so forth, dressed in suits, driving in black Lincolns, coming through town, just basically observing everything. Kind of reminds you of the observers from the TV show Fringe. You know, the ones that observe everything and don't really take part in it. The Watchmen. So, Lucas, you got to stop that. So what ended up happening was the bridge collapsed in 1967, I believe it was, or 68, and there were several dozens of people on the bridge waiting to cross over between Ohio and West Virginia, and the bridge just collapsed. They detected that it was a loose bolt attached to one of the mainframe spines of the bridge that let loose and just collapsed, and days leading up to that, people had sighted the Mothman perched on top of this bridge. And for a while, people were thinking the Mothman had some equipment and broke the bridge apart, which, of course, is crazy to think that. The Mothman was more or less like a harbinger of sorrow, or almost like a death dealer. And the Book of David and the Book of Revelation mentions these angels, seraphim, they're referred to as half-man, half-animal-looking beasts, that people seeing them fear and turn away. Whereas other angels that have been encountered are great majestic beings that are full of light. Well, these death dealers are like the harbingers of sorrows, the 4 horsemen, the angel of death. Of course, they're not going to be aesthetically pleasing. So this is one theory I have, or one that my wife came up with also, which was really neat, was perhaps it was just a suit that the military was testing that was like a jetpack. And since that was an old munitions depot, what better place to test it than an old military installation that's no longer in use? Or supposedly the people thinking it was no longer in use.
All all I know is that's the sweetest theory I've ever heard about.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Like Ellie and I thought we were awesome with our government conspiracies, but what you and Kristen have there going with the suit is actually pretty interesting. Have you ever done any like research on that to see if maybe that might be something going on?
Well, I found out through the former mayor's son that he was there in high school drinking out around the TNT depot and the igloos and the munitions depot, and they were walking further and further and looking at more of the igloos and going into some areas that had never really been traipsed upon by people of that time. And he goes deeper into the lush and goes to this the lush deeper into the lush, deeper into the furl, and he goes up to the top of this bank area and sees that there's a fence across the way. So he and his friends start to scale the fence, and they look down, and there's all of these lights, almost like an airport. There's as many lights there as there would be in like a small end airport, and they see all of these hangars along the valley, and this is beyond the hillside, off in the mountain region. And they're looking down, and they see all of these hangars and a landing strip that's at least a mile long, and a helicopter landing pad, and these people driving around in forklifts with crates of something going from hangar to hangar. And he mentioned that to me as they got kind of spooked because some lights were going across in the spotlight, and they went across the hillside where they were standing. So they got spooked and ran away, got in the truck, and drove back into town and stopped at a little gas station and wanted to get some quick snacks like, I guess, Mountain Dew or whatever he told me. And this man approached him from behind, wearing an orange jumpsuit and a name badge, and had on a tan hat with an orange badge on top of the hat. And he whispers in his ear, "We know who you are, we know your father, we know where your house is. Never come around that area again. And if anyone asks you, you didn't see SHIT." And he drops his merchandise, he's kind of standing there, and his buddies are like, "What, dude, what?" And the guy just turns around and walks off and gets in a white, windowless van and drives off and heads back in the direction of the igloos.
That is crazy.
It is nuts.
So Brent and I had our own encounter with these men in the jumpsuits when we were in Point Pleasant in 2008. We were basically walking through the whole area. I was taking pictures on my mobile phone at that time, which is Bluetooth enabled, and I had an SD card in it. And I was having all the pictures saved directly to SD so I could transfer it from that to my computer that night in the hotel room. We stayed at the Low Hotel, which that's another story in itself. The room we stayed in was very active, very haunted. And we go there, I take the pictures, we come back, and every picture I took was corrupted or encrypted. And it dawned on me that the whole time I was walking around, I kept getting a beep on my phone, someone trying to access my Bluetooth. But I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I'm not even able to get a Sprint signal here. But someone's trying to hack into my Bluetooth or get me to accept a file, and I keep declining it, so eventually I just shut my phone off after I take the last picture. But my phone, it wouldn't allow me to shut it off because it was in mid-transit of a receiving of something. So then I yanked the battery out of the back of it, wondering what the heck was going on. Didn't think anything of it till I came back and tried to transfer the images. They were all gone. So we go back the next day, earlier in the morning. This was on a Sunday we did this. And we pull in, I back up the vehicle, and we start to walk a little ways, and I'm taking pictures, again, of the same areas we had taken pictures of. And we go further back, and I noticed that the area that's supposed to be where that fence is no longer there. Now they have all of these beautifully, perfectly aligned, pine trees set up there. That it's funny, because you have all these trees and natural wildlife scattered about, not perfectly aligned, but along this hillside, everything's just perfectly trimmed, perfectly aligned, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I start to move further into that tree line, and I see that it goes up to a hillside, and I see that all these cameras are mounted in a few of these trees, and they're moving around and following my movement. And I'm like, oh crap, what did I discover? So I start to back up, I stop taking pictures, and I start walking back to Brent, and I'm like, okay, dude, we gotta roll. I don't know what I stumbled upon, but these cameras are following us. We need to get out of here. So we got in the vehicle and started to pull forward, and then this white panel van pulled in next to us. This black SUV looked like a Hummer. This big white dually pickup truck. Several other vehicles that were either white or black. and they all had dog boxes in the back of the truck beds with no dogs, and they were all in tan jumpsuits with tan hats and orange badges. And they all get out of their vehicles and just stare at us as we slowly pull out.
That to me just sounds like a movie or something.
Yeah, I know, man. That's nuts.
That's totally awesome.
I mean, who in the world would hunt with that many people and no dogs? Furthermore, it's a wildlife reserve. You can't hunt there. There's only certain areas that are designated for hunting that's not in that region. And secondly, you only have that many people if you're wanting to track something.
Right. Well, Neal, you have given us a lot to think about this evening, and you have 2 books, The Haunted Chronicles and also Haunted Chillicothe.
Paranormal Chronicles and Haunted Chillicothe.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Paranormal Chronicles and Haunted Chillicothe, which you can get those on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. I'm sure you can get it on eBay by now. You can probably get it for $0.25, but try Amazon by now. Try my publisher, Lulu.com. You can try bookfinder.com, Google Books, and it's also available through like Ma and Pa owned bookstores. All of the low-end guys carry it for me.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the show this evening. Thank you for taking time out. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to contact Neal, please go to Facebook and request Neal Parks. I'm sure he will answer any questions you may have. And it was a pleasure speaking with you tonight, Neal.
I'm glad I got to talk to you. It was a lot of fun.
I know. It's great. You have a good night, and we'll be in touch.
I hope so. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Neal, nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you. Enjoy Missouri.
I say hello.
Hello.
Hello.